what we're going to do is, instead of running these like traditional vocational programs like we've all been used to back in our day, entrepreneurship is the heartbeat. They're going to have to understand a business plan. They're going to get taught a business plan so that when they go to work, the skills are the number one thing, but your entrepreneurship is the shelter. That's the heartbeat.
Welcome to The Parallel Entrepreneur. This is a special series on innovation supported by Relationary Marketing and the Chase Studios, recorded at the Greater Nashville Technology Council Innovation Summit. I'm joined today by guest host Johnny Anderson. He's the entrepreneur in residence at the Nashville Entrepreneur Center. Sit back and join us for this special edition of having authentic conversations with people that care. Most people talk about the future of work. Jeremy Qualls is building it years before people enter the workforce. Jeremy is the executive director of the Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center. He's also responsible for the college, career, and technical education program at Williamson County Schools. In these roles, Jeremy is rethinking how students are exposed to entrepreneurship, technology, and real-world problem-solving. We talked about critical thinking, about innovation, and why it shouldn't wait until college, and how early exposure to building, creating, and thinking like an entrepreneur fundamentally changes confidence and opportunities later in life. This conversation reshapes how you think about talent pipelines, so let's dive right in.
My job is to shout from the tallest mountain to all the folks here in Nashville that entrepreneurship and tech innovation doesn't begin when you're an adult, that we have viable companies at the high school level. And it's really interesting. The Entrepreneurship and Innovation Center, as we call it, the EIC, has only been around for 7 years. And we subscribe to a group called Uncharted Learning out of Chicago. That is an entrepreneurship curriculum, if you will. It's a baseline curriculum that we do with our kids. The center opened with 72 kids. We have a maximum of 280 now, with a wait list of 500 to even get in. We are the back-to-back, and hopefully soon, back-to-back-to-back national pitch champions. And I brought one of my national champions with me today. He's launched an ed tech company, and I think it's one of the coolest things. I used to be in my former life an athletic director, and athletics is always close to my heart. And I'm not sure there's a single thing in public ed that has the power of a football game on Friday night. This is the closest thing that I've ever had to move the needle for me, specific to the educational side of things outside of athletics, is this Entrepreneurship Center.
You've got a magnet going down there. I remember when you first opened. I remember the vision and this constant, you're not just shouting from the mountaintops, you're also roaming the valleys and, making sure that people understand that the water that feeds the valley is the youth, our future.
Yes, and all I'm wanting to do is hook the wagons. A lot of people, and I'm the same way before I took that job, is when you go back in time to your time in high school, were you able to have a viable company? You two probably yes. Me, no way, because I didn't have the opportunity. I didn't know the know-how or the resources, and we give all of that. And then we have an application interview process where you have 10 high schools, the highest achieving school district in the Southeast United States, and I get to get the 1% of that group to say, let's go build a business. Are you kidding me? It's as good as it gets, man. It's fun. And literally, we give them some starting points, and we get out of their way. Fail often, fail forward.
Fear not.
And don't fear. There's nothing to fear. What is there to fear? Failure? That's how we learn.
Well, there is no such thing as failure, actually. In my opinion, I think there's nothing but learning opportunities, nothing but change. Even when you're relatively successful compared to something else, you might not be. So why compare to anything? And I love the attitude that I think youth brings to a challenge. It's all about learning and consuming knowledge. And I think reflecting back also the leadership that they're getting from people like you and other leaders in Williamson County and throughout this region. Talk to me about how you're engaging with the Nashville Technology Council, the greater Nashville Technology Council?
Since being in this role, my other responsibility is being over all of college and career technical education for Williamson County. So we have 140 teachers across 10 buildings, 34 programs of study. So I immediately, when I took the job, I've always considered myself a techie, even though I couldn't create or do anything tech-wise. But maybe a futurist. I loved watching emerging technologies and thinking, okay, how can we use this for better efficiencies? So I always stayed on top of those things. So immediately when I got that job, the first place I went was to our IT coding people. It's like, all right, what are we building? What are we doing? Right? That's how I discovered Anthony. Is like, are we solving any problems? Are we creating anything? And they said, yeah, we got a couple. I said, well, good. We're going to have an open mic night at the EIC, and I want those tech people to come, and I'm going to get a Shark Tank of tech folks, and we're going to see what happens. Anthony was a byproduct of that. But I immediately reached out at that time to the NTC. This was been 7-8 years ago. Elise was coming on board, and Elise and I were on the Williamson Ford trip. We got to know each other and figuring things out. And then the thing I love about Mark Blaze, Mark called me. He's like, in his awesome dialect. Of course, I have my own Southern dialect. We couldn't understand each other for the first 5 minutes. It was great. We laughed. Now, what did you say? Slow down. He's like, hey, man, I've heard all about you. I want to come see you. And I was thinking, okay, this guy's new. He's not going to come down. And sure enough, he came down the next week. We spent, I don't know, we had to literally kick each other out and say, we got to go back to work. And it's a constant thing on my radar specific to the tech industry, because I feel like the innovations happen fastest at the tech. So I really love to attach everything we're doing to the tech aspect. And hopefully we're providing an infrastructure and a jumping off place for these folks to go into that industry.
Mm. You know, we talked a little bit about you never fail, you only learn. It's your relationship with failure as an entrepreneur. And it took me late into my 40s to learn that lesson, or to be taught that lesson. Why are we not teaching kids that lesson? You're an exception. Why is this not more universal, teaching lessons like that?
I'm going to try to be careful here because I'm skirting something. When I was a principal way back, I subscribed to that theory. Let's get away from rote memorization. Let's get away from 74 problems for homework. Let's get away from all these things that we've traditionally done. And let's put kids in a place of success. And do it at a quantity where it's manageable from a teaching aspect of, if they don't know what they're doing, what are we kicking out to get them there? And if they do know what they're doing, where do you send them? So that's the first problems that we solved as a principal. So you go back to now these days, the problem of it is, I think people in public ed moves at glacial speed. It just does. Always has been. We're still stuck in 1984. We're playing Pac-Man. We think that's AI, right? AOL, as they used yesterday. We're still on AOL.
What? AOL's that gone
we're
now?
We're still looking for a mail, and they didn't realize they shut it down yesterday after 30 years. You know, I want to move at business speed. And I'm fortunate enough to be in a facility and a system that allows me to play in that sandbox, because we have the abilities at the EIC and in the Income and Innovation Center to do so. The funny thing is, when I go out to these general ed classes and say, hey, I know you're running a senior level English class. Why don't we shift the mindset a little bit and let them come in and be our PR firm for our kids and do corporate memos? You can get the exact same standards that you're trying to cross over. It may not be Hamlet, but it's real life and it's relevant. And it's a little bit overwhelming sometimes if you haven't been in a situation like the EIC. That's what I see. If you haven't been in a situation where you've got an Anthony, you've seen Anthony have 12,000 users worldwide before he graduated high school, and you realize that the last 2 months of his career was not spent in a classroom, that I sent him to every single school district within driving distance to meet with their superintendent, that is 10 times more important than anything he's going to live in the classroom. And until we can wholesale do some things like that, it's just the public or any education system has to get into that realm of understanding the power and how to back up, give the kids a little bit of ownership, help them fail, help them refine, and do it again. When we open the Innovation Center in August, we're going to open up with 5 programs of study, 5 programs that have never been done in Williamson County history. Aviation, kids can get a private pilot license. Cybersecurity, artificial intelligence. We've done cyber before, but artificial intelligence is going to be in tow with that. Hospitality and tourism is a brand new program where kids are learning everything, every aspect of the restaurant and hotel industry, from the front of the house to the back of the house and everything in between. We've got a firefighting program that we are with the city of Franklin, and we have a heavy machine technology program and energy power generation with Thompson Caterpillar. What we're going to do is, instead of running these like traditional vocational programs like we've all been used to back in our day, entrepreneurship is the heartbeat. They're going to have to understand a business plan. They're going to get taught a business plan so that when they go to work, the skills are the number one thing, but your entrepreneurship is the shelter. That's the heartbeat. So I can go work for Thompson Caterpillar as an 18-year-old straight out of this program at $100,000 and a truck. But 5 years down the road, I'm going to realize I can do this business elsewhere on my own, but I don't know how to do it. We're changing that narrative. So we're going to take traditional vocational program and flip it on its head, and we're going to make it innovative. And it's going to be all entrepreneur driven.
Oh, can I get an amen?
Can I get an amen? I feel like the energy, I just want to jump on it and ride it. And so we've talked a little bit about helping and how the community helps. And we've talked about the nature of our community and the nature of helping. Let's get rid of that and just say, how can we help you? What are 3 areas where we can empower the things that you are doing?
Time, talent, treasure. Now,
Today.
today,
Today.
the EIC, the current Entrepreneurship Center, has 150 mentors built in, which is pretty cool, man, to have 150 business adults like yourself come in and pour themselves into our kids one day a month. That's all we ask. And what happens is when they start attaching themselves to a company, all of a sudden there's Mark Cleveland walking in on a Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock. What's up, man? He's like, oh, I got a meeting with Anthony. I was like, great. And we just go on about business. That's what we do in the Entrepreneur Center. It's really, I saw 3 today, adults. We don't set those meetings. The kids are setting those meetings because we treat it like real world. But those mentors, we want to continue growing that. People roll off, roll in, whatever. I like to cover every sector too. So if we need some IT experts, we have them. If we need people that are signing NDAs and legal, we have that. We have patent attorneys on all those things. So yes.
So I remember when the Entrepreneur Center was a shovel dig here, and when we were with Michael Burcham and everybody was putting this thing together. And I personally went down and took the mentorship training program that he offered and became a mentor. And one of the reasons was I thought, I'd like to imagine that I could be a better mentor in my own organization. Talk to me about you. That's a lot of mentors you're attracting to create this energy cauldron. And how are they oriented? How are you helping them get engaged?
What we do is we try to keep it high level. And the reason that is, most of the conversations you're going to be having is with a teenager in ideation stage. And probably there's a better chance than not that that's a terrible idea. And we tell them and we inform them that is what they're wanting to hear. They're not wanting you to sugarcoat it. I don't want to, these kids are so high level, they don't want to spend 6 months on a product and you come back and say, hey man, I hate to tell you, that's not a good idea. Like,
I should have said this before, but.
Right, yeah. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I've already spent 6 months on it because they're working that fast. So we say be open and honest and provide your networks for them. If you can't do it, there's somebody in your network that could possibly help them. So then as it gets deeper, level 2, level 3, level 4, those kids that have been in the program for 2 and 3 years where they're way past the children's stage, that's where they get those individual hooked in and they really make the magic happen.
So I've been exploring this topic for a while on my podcast, and I'm thrilled to be a part of this project. I want to recognize something. I've always thought, growing up in corporate America, running my own companies, that I would be a mentor. I would mentor other people, right? And then I remember there was this moment where, if I rolled it back, I'm receiving mentorship from people in the Fortune 500 company I'm working with, et cetera. And now I think that mentorship is a two-way street, period, at all times. I'm learning as much from this young, eager, it doesn't matter if they're high school or maybe just right out of college, I'm getting as much mentorship upward, or collectively in that experience as I might even hope to offer them. I'm excited to hear about your programs.
I've heard that. What happens is our kids get offered internships usually on the spot. It never fails. People are like, how old are you again? They're like, 17. They're like, let me check with HR.
Do you have a car?
Yeah. Right. I mean, it's really remarkable. I've heard somebody say too, I kind of felt like, okay, we're missing the boat on this when we first started before we kind of shifted to where we are, the current model now. We brought in a cybersecurity class to be the cyber geek squad for our programming, for our kids that are building businesses. Say, if you need a website, need this, these guys are here. Let's give them real world relevancy, right? Mentor sitting at the table, and the mentor's like, well, if you had this and this and this and that. He said, you talking about this? And that guy said, you just didn't do that, did you? He goes, oh, yeah. He said, what are you doing tomorrow at 4 o'clock? And then I was like, okay, let's shift our thing, because it's exactly what you said. It becomes a two-way street.
Hey, thanks for listening to another episode of The Parallel Entrepreneur. And thank you to our sponsors, partners, and the special team behind the scenes that make it all possible. Be sure to like, follow, or subscribe to our podcast and get the latest updates. And to learn more about this growing community of entrepreneurs, our mastermind and companion program for your parallel entrepreneur journey, visit parallelentrepreneur.com. And of course, thank you to all the visionary guests who trust us to share their stories.